Okay,
Yeah.
listen, listen, welcome to the show. And again, just some house rules for people listening is keep your mobile switched off if you can. Make sure that when you want to say anything that the unmute button is pressed. But welcome, Jaime, and we know each other well. I've known you probably now for close on 5 years, from the early days of driving Mallorca, or early days for me of driving Mallorca. You've taken me out in one of your cars, a Ferrari 308 GTS, which I remember very fondly, actually. And I was reminded of this on Facebook recently, and I shared the video again. I'm not sure if you saw it, but it's a lovely little clip of that. We were going from Pereira's to Ucmayor on our sort of very own little stretch of the Nürburgring, which is absolutely gorgeous. But you've also got, I've got down here, you've got the Ferrari, you've got the Golf GTI, obviously, which you rally.
Yeah.
You had the Sirocco, and I say that gently because I know that there was a small problem with the Sirocco. You've got a Ford Sierra Cosworth.
Yeah.
And you've got the Ferrari 612. Is that correct? Yeah. A favorite among, I mean, obviously you couldn't get a more different range of cars. Is there a favorite amongst that lot?
But that depends. Every car has its function. I have to say that if I had to race with my Ferraris, I'm not fan of that, because they are, most of them, this unless, I mean, the 308, the 348, the 355, they are quite old cars, and they are correctly maintained. But when you drive in a performance style, then you want a performance car. You want something specifically prepared for circuit or for roads. So just to wander around, but all my Ferraris, I love them. I love them because they are fantastic. But I don't like to run with them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I used to, but since I race, then I only like to race with my race cars.
Yeah.
Because they are prepared, I feel safe, and it doesn't happen with the other cars.
Yeah, and it wears, and again, they're designed for purpose, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really?
No, and the suspensions, the tires, they are specifically prepared, and even if they are good tires and good springs for the suspensions, they never work like proper race car.
Yeah.
So I really don't. I mean, I just to wander around, they are okay.
Yeah. And you've got quite a CV here. One of the things that you do, or the things that I've seen you do here anyway, and it may go back, I'm sure it does, goes back a lot further than I've known you. But it was something that I wasn't actually familiar with when I came here. And I've had a lot of involvement in various degrees of motorsport, but predominantly on circuit racing. Is the regularity aspect of rally driving. Can you explain just very briefly how regularity works?
Yeah. Okay. When you do a normal rally, it's a question of being quick. So you're going to the start, to the finish, and the fastest as possible, and the shorter as possible. So you cut the bends, you cut the corners in order to run less meters. So because the less meters you do, the less time it get you to do that. Okay. Regularity is it's a completely different philosophy, because in this case you got a stage, you given a length of the stage, the official length, and they give you an average speed, which normally are several of them. You say, for example, from the start and the first 2 kilometers, you must make an average speed of 65 kilometers. Then from kilometer 2 to kilometer 10, you have to do 55. And then from the kilometer 10 to the end, you have to do 75. Okay. So you given this data, I got my pilot. He's got a computer, special design computer for this. And then when you given the start, during the stage, you have some control circuit points. Normally they are GPS points. When I started with these races, they were physical detectors, but you could see them. So you know where you're going to be measured. Okay, so now it's GPS, which is a completely virtual time, and they check what time are you arriving to that secret point. And then they measure the time and they measure the theoretical time. You were doing the proper speed and you were making the proper meters, because irregularity is not only a question of making the average speed. You have to match as much as possible the length of the stage. If you cut too much in the corners, at the end, instead of 11 kilometers, you may have done 10,500. That means that as you're doing less length, you're being early in all the controls because you're making less meters. So you not only have to match the speed you're given, but you have to try to match the length of the stage you're given.
So you're not necessarily taking the racing line through these corners then? You're driving the length of the road, is that correct?
No, this is at the end, what this regularity means is that you're quick on the corners and you don't run on the straights. Because in the straights, people doing normal race, they go flat out as quick as possible. In that case, because I got penalties if on delay or in advance. If I arrive too early, I got a penalty if I'm being quick. If I'm arrived too late, I got the same penalty. So I have to be on the average speed and on the meters as much time as possible. Then you're measured, and then you got a small penalty.
Yeah, it amazed me because when I've seen you on these rallies and I've competed in the same rallies that you've been in, very much as a novice, and you've been out there with your brother Enrique, who's typically co-piloting for you. And I remember you saying to me, you know, you were like in second place, but you were like half a second away from. I mean, it's unbelievably accurate, this stuff, isn't it? I mean, Enrique is he looking at the road, or what's he looking at when you're doing?
I mean, our way of racing changed when we start to do, because now we're racing in 2 champions. We're doing the local Mallorcan championship, and that is not very quick. So we can concentrate on being accurate. So I don't need driving notes because I know the roads. I've been many times on those roads, and the average speed is not very quick. So I don't need those notes. But when we went to do the national championship, the Spain championship of regularity for historical vehicles, then it's much quicker, much quicker.
Yeah.
And I do not know the roads, so I do need notes, because otherwise I can have an accident. But the notes on regularity are a little bit different than the notes when you do normal rallies. And the difference is that the complicated corners, I know where they are because I see them. When I will have an accident is after those corners, which I cannot. For example, if I have to do a hairpin at 50 kilometers per hour, it's impossible. It's physically impossible. That means I will do that hairpin at 40 or 45. So I'm going to get a delay. So after that hairpin, I have to accelerate to try to recover the time that I lost. If that is straight, then it's very easy for me to recover. But if that is a corner, I will have an accident in the second corner because I'm speeding, recovering from the delay of the top one.
Yeah.
So I told you after starting the nose with my brother, listen, I don't need to know where the top corners are. I need to know what's behind that corner.
Right.
So there is where I'm going to be speeding.
Yeah. But there are times on these events when you're driving flat out, or is there always? It's certainly in the corners, the twisty bits. There can be occasions when you're really pushing along.
In Spain, yes, with my other cars. I mean, now I'm driving a Ford Sierra Cosworth four-wheel drive, which is 300 brake horsepower with turbo, and that is an incredible machine. So if you have a heavy foot, you got an outcome very quick. So I can recover the delay very quick. So I don't really need being flat out for a long time. But for example, when I did my first national championship with Vall, I was flat out barely all the championship because
Right.
I couldn't recover. I mean, I didn't have the power.
Yeah.
So I was really, really flat out. And this is why I had two accidents, not big
Yeah.
ones, thank goodness.
Was it?
But I had to act because being flat out. And what happened with the Sirocco was exactly the same. Instead of being flat out in the second gear, I was flat out in third gear because I was trying to recover. And so I was pushed outside the corner and then I get a stone and
And that was it.
I had the accident.
Yeah.
And that was because it takes for me too long to recover the delay that I had on the top corner.
Yeah.
But normally with this Sierra, it's much easier and incredibly it's much safer.
Yeah.
Because I'm flat out but less time. So I'm much more in control of the car with much more time.
Yeah. When I am, oh, sorry, Bob, you carry on. Bob, carry on.
When you're racing, is there a different class for different cars, which would equate to different times and
Not
distances?
in regular, yeah, you have two categories, but no cars in that, and there's no different car category. So when you get the subscription to the race, you can be on sport regularity, which is an average speed over 60 to 90. And you can be in regularity, which is a little bit lower. I mean, I think the maximum speed in that is about 50 or 55. So you decide, no matter the power of the engine or no matter the gear of the engine, you can choose which category you want to race. But once you're there, there's no difference in the cars. It's different, like, for example, in the normal rally, that depending on the cubic centimeters of the engine and so, you got different categories, but not in regularity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has regularity been your thing from the beginning? Have you done rallies where it's been absolutely point A to point B flat out?
Yeah, no, because being quick is, you need two things. You need a lot of money and you need a lack of brain. Okay. And then you can be really, really quick. Okay.
No imagination.
I mean, if you worry about other things, I mean, you got kids, you got work, I'm a doctor, I'm working with my hands. So, I mean, if you're thinking about other things, which is the road and being quick, then you cannot really, really be quick.
Yeah.
So from the beginning with my brother, we decided to do these gentleman drivers races. And this is why my first car for this was the 308. We got that 308 in Milan back in the 2015. And my first rally was an Oris rally with Tommy Descaya rally. It had barely 2 months. And we did that. But I discovered two things after that rally. The first is that car was too good and too expensive to play with that in that corners, and so that if I had an accident, that fixing that would be messy and complicated and very expensive. And the second thing that I discovered, it was that car was not good at all to the rally. So it was
not on these roads.
I love that car, and you know that I love it, but it was rubbish. I mean, really impossible to, and it has no performance. I don't know. So
it's interesting.
After 2 months of having that car at home, I went to my wife and I say, listen, I have to buy another one. And she said, what? But you just bought this one and you bought that. And I said, yeah, I'm sorry, but that is very, and when she saw the car that I bought, I said, you're crazy. I mean, you got the car you got, and then you're buying this. I said, listen, for this car, this is the maximum. I mean, it's an amazing car. The Golf Mark 1 is incredible.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
Yeah. I found, again, I had renewed respect, having never really understood it before. I've done the rally a few times as a co-driver for Gordon, and first of all, a 72 Lotus Elan, and the next time in a Lotus Elise from 2009. And I had renewed respect for the co-driver. There was one stage here that would consistently make me sick. And we were not doing it anything like the level that you and Enrique, but again, regularity, the format of regularity made it accessible to us. But I found it, I had, again, renewed respect for co-drivers because it's there's a lot going on as a co-driver. In regularity as much as in normal rallying. They've got a big job to do, haven't they?
Of course. I mean, I couldn't do what I'm doing without my brother. I mean,
Yeah.
because they do that helping you, they do that with the maths and with using the computer. But then normally in a regularity stage, you do every stage twice. So after the first time, we study our results, we study our records of the first leg we've done to check where have we been quick, where have we been slow, and how to correct or compensate that in order to improve in the second leg of that same stage. And then, for example, you can discover that in the first leg you got 10 seconds penalty, and in the second you got 0.5 seconds penalty because you reach your results and then you correct. And this is something which is very, very important. And in that case, my brother is crucial.
Is it always your brother?
With my daughter, last year, and we did it pretty well, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah, that was my question. Yeah, it hasn't always been Enrique doing it. So you have
I mean, he's the official co-pilot, but sometimes if he's got for work questions or something, if he cannot attend,
sure.
Then I got some others. And last year, for example, I got my daughter. She's 16, and I showed her the basis of how to use the computer, which is, in this case, we use an iPad, and she helped me with taking notes and so, and she enjoyed it a lot. And we did it pretty well.
Yeah. Did she get sick?
Yes. But she got sick on the connection stage from Estellencs to Escap-de-Llard. There,
right.
She got sick, not during the race.
Well, that's what I mean. That's always the road that makes me sick. It's the only stretch of any section in the Oris Rally. It's the only bit that I've ever been sick on. And I don't know what it is about that stretch of road.
No, because it's really terrible. I really do not like that. I mean, driving from Estellencs to Puigpunyent to Esporles,
yeah,
I hate it. I really hate it.
Yeah,
it's always wet. There's very, very tricky corners. And thanks goodness, I never had to race that stage. It's always a connection stage.
Yeah.
But it's curious, but sometimes, mainly here in Mallorca, you go much more quick in those connection stages than during the race. It's given not many times, and then you have to be very, very quick because, as you know, if this is the same with rallies, if you arrive late to a checkpoint, then you got a penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. So sometimes you're racing, you're speeding much more from stage to stage than you in the race.
Yeah.
So you're never off the throttle. You're always on.
Yeah.
All right. Now, here in the States, we don't have the rallies like you do. So you have to explain something to me. It's just the overall time, not the time. For example, you've got 23 corners. Are they measuring you or penalizing you for each corner, or just the overall?
No, you don't know. No. The overall time doesn't count at all. No?
Okay.
So you got, for example, it's a 12 kilometers stage, and you have, 12 secret. Normally it's 12. With GPS, there's much more. When it was a physical ones, they were less because they don't have 12. And you don't know where they are. They can be in the middle of a corner. They can be before a corner because you can think, for example, this corner is going to be very quick, very sharp. I mean, very, very slow, very sharp. So I run before, I weave in advance, I lose all this time during the corner, and I'm going out on time. But if you do that at the control is at the entrance of the corner, then you got catch with the penalty for advance. So the punctuation for that is the seconds in decimals, 0.1, 0.2 of difference between the theoretical point of control and your actual time in that control. For example, if you're doing the proper distance and you're doing the proper speed, at the first time, you should arrive at 1 minute 35 seconds. But you're arriving 1 minute 35 seconds, 0.01. So you got a penalty in that point of 0.1. Then in the second one, you arrive 2 seconds in advance. So you got a penalty of 2.
0.01.
In the third, you got perfect. So you have 0.0. Which is the problem. For example, you may be doing a correct speed, but for example, if you're cutting for example, at the beginning, you cut meters in 2 or 3 hairpins, you can do, for example, in each control, -5, -5, -5, -5, -5. That means, yeah, you're doing perfectly, but at the first control, you arrive 5 seconds in advance, and then you're keeping this penalty in all those controls. So you're doing perfect because you're always being with the same, but you got an error in the first control, and then you're reproducing that error. So one mistake of 5 at the end is 5 per 12 is 60. So you got a shower.
Yeah. What's your at the end of a rally? What's the least penalties you've ever managed to achieve? What's your best result? In other words,
that depends on the number of controls. Okay, for example, last rally we won in the national championship, we made 39.5 points out of 100 controls, something like that. Wow. which is an average of 0.3 or something like that.
Incredible.
And the second one was 4 seconds ahead, but the third was about 120 something. You know, normally when we are in Mallorca, there's 2 or 3. I remember a rally. I did a stage of 12 controls and I made 6, 0.0.
Really? That's very impressive.
In the second leg, a colleague of mine, he made 7, 0.0. 7. So at the moment now, when I start to do, if you were under 1 second on a control, you were Captain America. Now you're doing more than 0.2 or 0.3. You're out of the game.
Right. How long has this been going on for then, the regularity format? Has this been going on for decades?
I'm on it since 2013, but as far as I can tell you, probably it's been like that for at least 10 years more. But because for regularity, there's 2 different kind of rallies, which is the open road rally, which is the tricky question is navigate and read a map and know where you have to get a detour and which road you have to choose. And there's a question of velocity. And there's the other kind, which is the one I do, which is the closed road rallies. I do regularity in closed roads. There's no traffic, and the road is just for us.
Yeah, yeah.
And these open road rallies, they are much older.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Going back to the beginning then, Jaime. You've got a lovely collection of cars now. What started it off for you? Was this a family interest? Was this a dad passing his enthusiasm down, or what got you into cars in the first place? Me and my brother Enrique, we always bought cars. When I was 16, I had a Vector, I had Samantha Fox, and I had a Countach. I had those 3 things on my wall. And as soon as I had a little bit of time and I was wealthy enough to think about this, I started to talk with my brother. We always loved classic cars. Ferrari was my dream. And we decided to say, listen, this is the moment. We find a Ferrari in Milan, and then we decided to do this, and this is the moment. And as I
when we start, the problem with this is that it's like running downhill. You think that you will control the speed, but then you get quicker and quicker and quicker. So I buy one, and then I bought another one, and then blah, 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 blah. And I ended having this small collection. I would like, there's one car left that I would like to get. I would love to have all the GTSs from the late 70s to the late 90s Ferrari, which is the 308 GTS, the 328 GTS, which is the one that I don't have, the 348 GTS,
Yeah.
that I got, and the 355 GTS that I already got as well. And then I have the Scaglietti, which is the first one I bought, but this was for everyday on everyday basis. This I never plan to race with that car. This is not a car to race.
When you're not rallying, what do you do for relaxation?
Drive.
Drive.
Drive. For me. Listen. The problem with my work is I have real problems to unplug. I'm at home doing whatever I'm doing, but I always thinking about work. When I go racing, normally when we do a national championship rally, normally the race is Friday afternoon, night, and Saturday, and we leave Mallorca Wednesday afternoon. Then we go there, we study the stages, we do our measures, we prepare our notes. And while I'm doing that, I don't think about absolutely anything but this. So even if sometimes from Wednesday to Sunday, you do 3,000 kilometers or something like that, I go back home much more relaxed than if I've been a long weekend doing nothing.
Yeah.
The problem is the family. I will be driving all the day, but I have to be at home.
Yeah. No.
Does
Oh, sorry.
your family ever come with you?
Sometimes, or my family. I mean, I got two daughters and a child, and they do love the cars. They love coming with me. But I try to move the cars every month, more or less, in order to move them. But it's always tricky because they stop. You have to move one and then get the other out and then put it back, and it's a little bit complicated because I don't have a big garage. That would be my having a man cave with all the cars there, with the PlayStation, with the driving station, but I can't.
But you've got a lot of cars. I mean, how many cars do you currently have, Jaime?
At the moment, probably I got about 9.
And so where do they live otherwise, if not in a man cave?
No, I mean I got at home. I got 3 parking places. Then I got another one which is hard. Then I got another place, another 2. They are scattered all over Mallorca. And there's one of the Sirocco is still in Madrid. I'm trying to get it back to just to get some pieces, the engine and the gearbox and and the buckets and the Sirocco. I mean the Sierra is in Asturias because the Scuderia I'm driving with they are placed there, so they are doing the maintenance of the vehicle and so on. This car never came to Mallorca and probably never will. As long as I'm doing the national championship rally, I'm planning to keep the car in there. Because they move the car with a trolley. You say trolley while you put up the car behind?
Trailer, yeah.
You put it in a trailer.
Yeah.
If I have to bring the car here, then I will have to use boats and so on.
Sure.
I keep it there.
Yeah. Going back even further, what was your first car that you ever owned then? What was that?
The first car I drove, it was Citroën AX TZS back in the 80s, something like that.
Yeah.
I started to drive with Seat 600, it's like a Fiat 500, when I was 16. And I went to my driving classes, driving my car. So I got caught and I got a problem. After that, then my father bought me this car, but my brother crashed it, so we
It happens.
yeah. And the first that I bought, it was an Opel Calibra. This is the first car I bought.
Yeah.
And
Which was a modern looking car in its day. I remember when it first came out, it was quite swish, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And you see them now and you can't believe you ever thought they looked quite good when they first came out.
Yeah, aging hasn't been very kind to him.
No.
No. After that car, then I bought Alfa Romeo Spider, a convertible one. I love that car. I had it for 20 I mean, I love that car.
Yeah.
But I crashed it as well. So my mechanic told me that it was, I mean, the amount of fixing the car was double of what the value of the car on the market. So say, listen, just throw it away.
Yeah.
And then I bought, after that one, I bought a Porsche. I had a Porsche 911 4S. I got it 1 year because I never intended to keep that car. This car was the door to what I said, the big tour. I wanted to buy a Ferrari, have it 1 year, then sell it, buy an Aston Martin, and then get a Lamborghini, and then try all those cars. What happened is that I bought the Porsche, then I gave the Porsche to buy the 612, and then I decided that I wanted to keep the car.
Yeah.
So I had to make room for more cars.
That's a terrible problem.
It's a big one, because now my wife has told me, listen, if you got a new car, the new car is coming and then you're leaving. So
this is an ongoing discussion, isn't it? I mean.
I have a very, very good thing. Yes, I told them that they were an investment. And I said,
yeah, well, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but she bought that for some years, but she's not buying that anymore.
Not anymore. No. You got to get her involved. Make her a driver.
No, she said, listen, if they are more valuable, just sell them and get the money back. And I say, no, dear, because if we keep that, then the car is keeping on rising the value. So we'd rather keep our invest. So
yeah,
but it's start not working. So
yeah. Do you see a future for electric cars in rallying? I went to the Isle of Man TT motorcycle races last year, which is an event I'd recommend to anybody. But that's a growing class within that event, is electric motorcycles. Where do you see the sort of future of rallying in terms of?
In fact, in Spain, we have an eco rally championship. I mean, there's a rally. There's a championship with several rallies that are just for electric or hybrid cars.
Right.
So this is already on. But what I'm doing is the national rally championship for historical vehicles. So it cannot be electric and historic.
Yeah,
so in my case, it doesn't apply. But I mean, the problem with these cars is been always the same. I mean, these cars, the performance is fabulous. I mean, I don't think there will be any problem because they have a crazy torque. So you got a lot of speed in a second. So that for regularity to recover from getting back in time from a top corner, that would be fantastic. But there's a question of if you're being quick, how long you will have battery. And if you have, I mean, sometimes to refuel during a rally is a tricky question because you're not given many time. I mean, recharging should be a nightmare. I mean, because you need much more time. So I don't know if you really, I mean, probably how these rally are built up and how they are run, it probably would be different on a gas, a petrol car.
Yeah. Do you have a? It's a difficult question really, because you've got cars of every different kind and you use them in every different way. But is there an absolute favourite that you have now, and is there a specific car that you don't have that you would absolutely love to own?
You have it, the 308 GTS. This is,
The 308.
yeah. But I think it's something which is a little bit of sentimental feeling. I mean, the performance is what it is.
Yeah.
But I love that car. This is a piece of art.
Yeah.
I see that car and I think it's really breathtaking. It's sexy. I really love it.
I'm privileged to have come in it with you. It's great fun. Yeah. Sorry, Bob.
What car have you had that you got rid of that you wish you had kept? Sorry. What car have you gotten rid of that you wish you still had?
I don't know. Probably my everyday car now, which is a Golf Mark II. Probably I wouldn't cry if I got rid of that. But in fact, secretly, I keep that car as my everyday car because I'm planning to convert that on a rally car. So I get the car just to be that. But at the moment, I really love them. I always told my wife and my children because they are fighting themselves which is going to be of who. And I say, listen, the Scaglietti is going to be my coffin. So I'm going to get buried in that car. So don't even plan to get that car ever.
Yeah.
I think I would really have problems to get rid of one of those unless I was doing that to get a much better one.
Yeah. So your oldest Ferrari is the 308, presumably. And what's that? Early 1980s? What year is that?
No, I think it's late 70s.
Is it late 70s?
Mine
Yeah.
is 1981.
Right.
The model was built on late 70s. The first one I think is 77, 78.
Yeah.
They were the first 800. They were done on fiberglass. This is the 308 Beta Resina, and now it has go up in price like crazy because 5-7 years ago they were about 60 grand. Now are they 1,800 grand? No, 1,800 no. 180,000 euros they are worth that car.
Is it? Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you feel about because the 458 is the last of the normally aspirated two-seater sports Ferraris. What do you feel about them going turbo with the 488 and presumably onwards and even hybrid?
Amazing car. It was I drove that. I had the opportunity to drive that in Maranello in a driving course, and this is like a go-kart with steroids. It's incredible. Yeah. The outcome. Ferraris with turbo, I haven't driven anyone, so I cannot tell you how the outcome is.
Yeah.
But they were, remember that the F40, which is the iconic Ferrari of all times.
Twin turbos.
Turbo one. Yeah. So I think that turbo is here to stay. Now, my first car with turbo that I drove is the Sierra Cosworth. And I have to say that I was scared about the delivery of the power. Because I was always told that these turbo cars, they were tricky because you step the throttle and then you could have a delay on the delivery on the power. So if you weren't careful during a corner, you can get the power in the wrong time and then you can have an accident. But I have to tell that once I started to drive this Sierra Cosworth, I didn't notice that problem. Could be the delivery of the power is not instantly.
Yeah.
So I'll probably drop with the turbo. But I cannot tell you about Ferraris because I never do one with the turbo. But I think the last one with aspirated, the 458 was the last V8. But V12, I think the TDF 12 or TD12F, that was the last one. I think it's a little bit older.
Yeah. And what do you feel about the Ferraris of the 60s? My brother had a 275 GTS, which I always thought was a really, really nice car. That's one car that someone wishes he had never sold. Right. Because he bought it for $20,000. I saw one in London for $1.5 million.
For me, the most beautiful cars ever built, late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
For example, one of the most beautiful cars ever built is an American one, which is the GT40.
Yeah,
I love it.
it
It's
is,
an amazing car.
isn't
It's
it?
an incredible car. It doesn't bend corners, okay, but it's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that car. And the
yeah.
model one, the model version they did in 2000 and something,
It's smart,
it's beautiful as well.
isn't it?
And
Yeah,
all those cars late in the 70s, the P3, the P4, the Ferrari 330, the Ferrari, it's, they are,
glorious.
or the Alfa Romeo,
Yeah,
or the Bisarini, or what, all those cars,
yeah,
they were really beautiful cars. Or the Jaguars, or the Aston Martins, all of them. But they are, I mean, you cannot even think about having all those one. It's expensive, just think of them.
yeah. It is. It is indeed. Have you ever have you been up to Maranello before, and have you ever driven around Fiorano before?
Yes, I did. My driving course was there in Tirano.
Was
With
it?
358, the F43, I mean the F43 Scuderia, and the 599.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah. It's the whole town, isn't it? Really,
Maranello is they live around the circuit. I go to see the factory, Ferrari factory. This is what just after buying the 612.
yeah,
I did have a car with 560 brake horsepower. So I thought I'd rather have a driving course, a proper driving course, because it's safe to all those cars. And then I went to Maranello to do the driving course in Fiorano. And Ferrari, it's expensive. It's very, but I mean, we were about 20 pilots, and from 20 pilots, there was about 100 people working there.
yeah.
Hostages, I mean hostesses. I just
Hostesses.
hostesses, mechanics, people working on cars. I mean, the instructors. I mean, my instructor was a rally championship, a rally champion from Brazil. They were professional drivers. It's amazing.
Wow, fantastic.
No, it's quite an experience. It's really.
I'm sure. Amazing. The history is phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going back to rally, how many rallies are you now doing each year? How many rounds in the national championship that you're obliged to go and take part in? Because it's quite a business.
Season, I think, because this is not the normal season. The national championship in Spain is about, normally there are 6 races. Last year we made 5 because one was cancelled. And the Mallorcan one normally was always out of 7, 8. Last year they were 12,
Yeah,
or 11. And this year is going to be, it should have been like that, but most of them are going to be cancelled. Probably we managed to do two rallies before the coronavirus crisis.
yeah,
And now at the moment they are about another 4 which have been, or 3 or 4 which have been already cancelled. After the summer, there's the 2 big ones, which is Val de San Pere and the other one, which is the Dijous. The Val de San Pere seems to be held, but the Dijous I really don't know. And all the others. The problem here is that it's not only a question of health security. It's a question of that with the economical crisis, that many sponsors they have lost interest of sponsoring these races.
Yeah. It's very difficult.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for rally organizations.
And our sort of blue ribbon rally event, at least from my perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is the former Oris rally, or the Rally Classico Mallorca. That's not part of any championship, is it? That's a standalone event in its own right.
This rally is one of the most famous. It's an amazing one. I really love it. But if you are on championship, then the rules to get inside and what you have to accomplish to run those rallies is much more strict. Okay, doing this rally out of a proper championship gives you a little bit more room for people which are not really professional and cars which are not perfectly prepared for that.
Yeah,
You meet it and enjoy the race.
Yeah, It makes it accessible, doesn't it? It's not a cheap event, but it's a very, very well run, fantastic event. And I love it. I think it's amazing. Really do.
About how many cars compete per event?
Sorry?
How many cars, how many entries in an event?
For example, in a regular Spanish championship, normally we are about, because normally this Spanish championship, you got the national one, which is people doing the national championship, and normally they are about 10 in sport regularity, which is my category. But then you got another 20, they're racing at the same time with you, but they are local championship. They held at the same time, same stage, national one and local one. So in Spain, for regularity, we could be out of 20 to 30 cars in regularity, the slow one, about 50 or 60, and then in competition, I mean in rally, properly speed rally, another 80, 100.
That's
to
good.
100. So normally is from 120 to 160 and 80. In Mallorca is quite different. In Mallorca, normally in competition, they are about 60 cars, regularity from 5 to 20. Normally it's a little bit less.
Yeah. I think the hospitality levels that Tony Descayar puts together here are probably beyond what is typical at these events.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's
amazing.
Because you host it. I mean, when you go to a rally, I mean, you're on your own, or if you have an assistant, you're on your assistant's own.
Yeah.
But you got organization, you got all these meals, you got all these activities, and it's another way of understanding rallies.
Yeah.
And it's a way.
Yeah. Your plans for the future, Jaime? More of the same? Is there anything different that you're planning to do in the next few years that you haven't done yet?
At the moment, we are. I would like. I mean, the past 2 years, I've been second on the national championship. So this is the fishbone that I want to get to that. I don't know if in English you say that, but this is itching, and I want to scratch that out. So probably I will keep on driving the national championship for I don't know exactly how long, but and here in Mallorca, I see my friends. I mean, for me, going to a race is going to a party with friends.
Yeah.
I love them. There's some. I mean, there's people that otherwise I wouldn't see. So probably I will. As soon as my wife has got patient, probably I'm trying to keep on like this.
Yeah.
Maybe
There's no.
lose some weight. For me, it's not an obligation. I mean, for me, it's fun, and I really love it.
Yeah.
So it's not a sacrifice for me. And as long as economically I can afford that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're in a business, which is good news, that shouldn't hopefully be too affected by what's going on at the moment. I mean, your profession is always going to be needed.
With this crisis and so, the problem is that people doesn't come to the consultation.
Yeah.
They got ill.
Yeah.
But they don't come. So this has been an issue anyway. But listen, I mean, eventually we're going to recover out of this. So.
And what over the last few months? I mean, okay, you've got your emergency stuff that's going on, but otherwise operations have been put to one side and.
No, they stopped everything. I mean, we have stopped everything.
Did you?
The surgery that was on was emergency surgery for traumas or appendicitis and so, and the oncological surgery. The normal program one is been stopped from the second week of March. Until 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. So you're back at work. You're back at work now.
I'm really back at work. In fact, I'm on my consulting room, and I finished my work about 30 seconds before connecting you.
Did you? Well, listen, that's great. You still
I was
I,
like this, but just when I was connecting.
I've kind of been thinking in a way in Mallorca, unlike a lot of places, and we've been very lucky. So the hospital has been a lonely environment over the last few months because we've been very lucky with this, haven't we? You know,
Yeah, here, unfortunately, the strike here is not very hard.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. So when's your next event that you're going to be going into?
The next event, hopefully, is going to be in September. But the problem is that in this July there was a rally in Avilés that it has moved from September, and at the moment they are the same. I mean, the first rally here in Mallorca and this first rally in Avilés, they are going to be held the same weekend.
Right.
So probably I will go to Spain, but the question is that it's not fully confirmed, this Avilés one. They ask for this date to the federation, but then they have to have all these permissions to close the road and traffic, and there's the problem that we share the road with the marathons, with the cyclists, with everyone wanting to do something in the road. So sometimes you ask for a date, and that date is already booked, and so you cannot use that date on that day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's hope it all gets back to the new abnormal or whatever they're calling it as soon as possible, because it's been a tough few months for everybody, and it'd be.
Oh, what's behind you? That's covered.
Look at that.
Well, I've got the black car on top is a 1948 Plymouth. The red car below it's a 1957 Ford.
But they are hot rods. You have modified them, or they are original?
Oh, everything I have is modified.
They are hot rods.
Even my Corvette's modified.
Oh, really?
My Corvette used to be a race car, and they drove it. The big track that it was driven on was Laguna Seca, and it was Sports Car Club of America puts on what they call Solo 1 and Solo 2. So you drive on the track, and this car was one of the cars that was used at Laguna Seca. It's similar to, they had a Corvette they built in it's a C4 Corvette. They called it a Corvette Challenge car. They were hand built. They had a special engine and roll cage.
Yeah,
this doesn't have the engine.
Ferrari Challenge cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what this car was. It doesn't have the engine or the roll cage, but it had everything else. It had the bigger brakes, the quicker steering, the coolers, all the other things. And I have fun with it. I don't compete any longer. I haven't competed probably in about 10, 15 years. But
really? And you don't need to.
Oh, I miss it terribly.
This is why
I just don't have I don't have the time. I'm working.
I would miss that to death.
I was the marketing manager for General Motors, and I was traveling so much that I had to stop. And I took a championship one year when I worked for Nissan, and I was driving a Nissan. And then when I went to General Motors, I was traveling too much, and I couldn't. So the car went away, and I haven't gone back to it.
So you work for Nissan?
I used to, yes.
You still have the contacts, because there's a limited series of the GTR.
Yeah, no, I wish I did. They left. I worked for them in California, and they left California, went to another state. They've gotten crazy. When Goen got involved with them, it just changed. All the people that I used to work with left. They're gone. And now my wife was working for Mitsubishi, and Nissan owns Mitsubishi now. They closed their offices and moved them to the Nissan offices. So my wife was out of work. She went to work for Subaru. So yeah, well, you know, they're the ones in California. They're pretty big. All the American companies have pulled out of California. The only manufacturing in California now for an American company is Tesla.
But I thought that Subaru in America is Infiniti, isn't it? Or...
No, Infiniti is Nissan.
It's Nissan, okay.
But when I was also working, General Motors owned Isuzu, and I worked on the Isuzu side part of the time. We actually were building vehicles here in the U.S. So we were in Flint, Michigan, at a GM plant.
But
We built.
it's mainly pickups and some industrial vehicles, isn't it? Or
It is because of General Motors, yeah. I was on the truck side, but they used to make sports cars. They used to make sport coupes. General Motors didn't want the competition, shut them down, and just left the trucks and the SUVs.
yeah.
And now Nissan's doing the same thing to Mitsubishi. There's no more Mitsubishi cars in the U.S. There's only pickup trucks, or not even pickup SUVs or sport utility vehicles.
There's some Japanese car I wouldn't hesitate to add to my collection. For example, the Honda NSX,
Yeah.
the Subaru, the rally car.
Yeah.
Or the GTR anyway. I mean, the GTR is a crazy car. I mean, it's powerful as that. I mean, that's.
I see. I go back to when I worked in Japan. Skyline was what I'd like.
Yeah. The problem for me with that car is a nice one, but it's too related to drift. I see that.
Yeah.
And I only see that car going sideways.
Yes.
It doesn't go straight.
When I worked in Japan, one of the people I worked with had a Paul Newman edition, and Paul Newman road raced here, was very famous for his racing, but wouldn't let the U.S. Nissan let anybody know. So there was a special edition in Japan, but not in the U.S. And I would have loved to bring one of those here.
Hmm.
And we actually built a car for Paul. We took a Nissan Bluebird, put the 280Z turbo motor in it, and tried to give it to him, and he wouldn't accept it. But it was a BMW beater.
BMW is nice. But after the M1, that race car.
That was a beautiful car.
Oh, that was an amazing one.
Yeah, I was lucky. I worked for BMW that
Really?
point, so I had an M1 for a couple of weeks, and that was beautiful. But it was a non-US car. It was a what we call a gray market car.
Yeah.
So it
There's
looked great.
an advertised picture which was the Concorde and down the M1, and it's an incredible car. You know?
Yeah. No,
as I told you, these cars later the 70s, those were nice cars.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Great stuff, guys. I'm not sure where are we now. It's we're two minutes over the hour. So
2-minute penalty.
There you go. Stickler for time. So we'll wrap it up there. But Jaime, thanks so much for joining us. It's been really super to speak to you, and we've learned lots. And again, really respect for you doing this, and so unbelievably accurately. Again, we've had a go. I've had a go myself in a very amateur early stage, and I found it incredibly difficult. So respect to you and your brother Enrique for doing so well for so long. You're always the man at these events, without question. And it's fantastic. So, but thank you very much indeed for joining. It's been a real pleasure. Great stuff. And we'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Hopefully.
Okay. Thank you so much. Cheers.